Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and stared at the empty space ahead. 3 weeks had passed since anyone heard from New Haven Colony. The mining station on planet Kepler-4 for Tassi had 10,000 people living there. It was the biggest and most successful mining operation humans had ever built. Then one day, all communication stopped. The last message from New Haven was strange and broken. The voice on the radio sounded scared. Someone talked about unknown ships appearing near the planet. They mentioned something about being outnumbered by a massive force. Then the signal went dead. Nothing more came through after that day. Jake commanded 3 ships, now heading toward New Haven. His own vessel was called the UHS Defender. Commander Lisa Brooks worked as his tactical officer. She was smart and never panicked during dangerous situations. Dr. Alex Turner also traveled with them. He studied alien life forms and had seen many strange things during his career. The journey to Kepler 442c took 2 weeks at maximum speed. During the trip, Jake and his crew tried to figure out what might have happened to the colony. Pirates sometimes attacked remote settlements, but New Haven had strong defenses. Enemy aliens could have launched an assault, but humans had not fought any alien wars recently. Disease was another possibility, but the medical systems on New Haven were very advanced. Lisa spent most of her time checking weapon systems and running battle drills. She wanted the crew ready for any kind of fight they might face. Alex studied all the data they had about the planet and the colony. He looked for clues about what could make 10,000 people disappear without sending more distress calls. When they finally reached the Kepler system, Jake felt confused by what his sensors showed him. The planet looked normal from space. All the buildings and structures appeared to be in perfect condition. The mining equipment was still working. Energy readings showed that power systems were running at full capacity. Everything seemed fine, except for one important detail. There were no human life signs anywhere. Jake ordered his ships to move closer to the planet. As they approached, the sensors picked up something very unusual. Massive energy signatures were coming from deep underground. The readings showed power levels far beyond anything human technology could produce. The energy patterns were completely unknown to their computers. Lisa ran every scan she could think of. The results made no sense to her. She found traces of human technology mixed with something else entirely. The unknown technology seemed to be connected to the human systems, but she could not understand how or why. Alex studied the energy readings with growing excitement and fear. He had never seen anything like these patterns before. The signatures suggested advanced technology that was both alien and somehow familiar at the same time. Whatever was down there had been built recently, but using knowledge that seemed ancient. Jake made the decision to land on the planet's surface. He chose a small team to go with him. Lisa would come as military support. Alex would analyze anything strange they found. They took weapons and scientific equipment, not knowing what to expect. The landing site was near the main colony complex. As their shuttle touched down, everything looked completely normal. The buildings were clean and undamaged. Street lights were working. Even the gardens around the residential areas looked well maintained. But the silence was overwhelming. No people walked the streets. No vehicles moved anywhere. No sounds came from the buildings. Jake led his team toward the central administrative building. Their footsteps echoed strangely in the empty streets. Alex took readings with his instruments while they walked. His devices showed that the air was safe to breathe, and the radiation levels were normal. When they reached the main building, they found the doors unlocked. Inside, the lights were on, and computers were running. Coffee cups sat on desks with coffee still warm inside them. Personal belongings were scattered around workstations, as if people had just stepped away for a moment. Lisa checked the security systems. All cameras and sensors were working perfectly. But when she reviewed the recorded footage from the past 3 weeks, she found something impossible. The recordings showed people going about their normal daily activities right up until yesterday. 10,000 colonists were clearly visible on the security feeds. Working and living as usual, Alex made a discovery that chilled everyone. His scans detected human life signs after all, but they were coming from underground, far below the colony buildings. The readings showed that all 10,000 colonists were alive and gathered in one location deep beneath the surface. Jake ordered his team to find a way underground. They located maintenance tunnels that led down toward the mining shafts. As they descended, the strange energy signatures grew stronger. The walls around them began to show signs of modification. Human metal and concrete had been changed and enhanced with materials that Alex could not identify. The tunnels led them to a vast underground chamber that had not existed in the original colony plans. The space was enormous, easily large enough to hold all the missing colonists. Strange structures filled the chamber, built from a mixture of human technology and alien materials. The constructions seemed to pulse with their own inner light. At the center of the chamber, they found the colonists. All 10,000 people stood together in perfect rows. Their eyes reflected an unnatural blue glow. They moved in complete synchronization, turning their heads to look at Jake and his team at exactly the same moment. One of the colonists stepped forward and spoke, but as he talked, all the others moved their lips in perfect unison, creating an eerie chorus of the same words. They said they had been awakened and prepared for something called the Convergence. They claimed that visitors from space had come to help humanity reach its true potential. Before Jake could ask more questions, the ground began to shake. Massive structures started rising from the chamber floor. The constructions were clearly alien in design, but they incorporated human technology in ways that should have been impossible. The colonists smiled as the structures grew higher, reaching toward the surface far above them. Jake Morrison watched in amazement as the alien structures continued to grow upward through the underground chamber. The constructions moved like living things, expanding and reshaping themselves as they rose toward the surface. The colonists remained perfectly still, watching the process with expressions of calm satisfaction on their faces. "Commander." Lisa Brooks immediately activated her communication device to contact the ships in orbit. She wanted to warn the other crews about what they had discovered, but when she tried to send the message, her equipment produced only static noise. Something around them was blocking all radio signals. Dr. Alex Turner moved closer to examine the alien structures. His scientific instruments went wild as he approached the nearest construction. The readings showed impossible energy levels and materials that did not exist in any human database. The structures seemed to be alive in some way, responding to his presence by glowing brighter when he came near them. One of the colonists walked toward Jake. The man looked familiar, and Jake realized he was Bob Miller, who had been the colony administrator. But Bob's eyes held that same strange blue glow as all the others. When he spoke, his voice sounded normal, but somehow different. Bob explained that 3 months ago, the colony had received a signal from deep space. It was not a distress call or any kind of message they recognized. The signal was something entirely new, something that seemed to speak directly to their minds rather than their communication equipment. When they responded to the signal, ships had arrived within days. The alien visitors called themselves the Watchers. They had been observing the galaxy for millions of years, studying different species and civilizations. Most species they encountered either destroyed themselves through wars and conflicts, or became so peaceful that they stopped growing and advancing. But humans were different from anything they had seen before. Lisa demanded to know what the Watchers had done to the colonists. Bob smiled and said they had not been harmed or enslaved. Instead, they had been enhanced and given access to knowledge and technology beyond human understanding. The colonists had volunteered for the process after learning about the greater purpose they would serve. Alex asked about the massive structures filling the chamber. Bob explained that these constructions were preparation centers, designed to help humanity adapt to their new role in the galaxy. The structures combined Watcher technology with human innovation, creating something that neither species could have built alone. The ground shook again as one of the structures broke through the surface far above them. Jake could see through the chamber ceiling as a massive spire emerged from the earth, reaching high into the planet's atmosphere. The construction was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, like a tower made of metal and light. Bob continued his explanation. He said the original distress signal from New Haven had not been sent by the colonists at all. The Watchers themselves had transmitted the signal, knowing that it would bring other humans to investigate. They needed to make contact with more representatives of humanity to discuss the greater threat facing the entire galaxy. Lisa grew suspicious and demanded to know what threat could be so dangerous that it required this kind of elaborate deception. Bob's expression became serious as he began to describe something called the These entities came from beyond the known galaxy, consuming entire star systems and civilizations as they moved through space. The Watchers had been preparing for the arrival of the Devourers for thousands of years. They had studied every species in the galaxy, looking for one that could help unite all the different civilizations against the coming threat. Most species were too focused on their own problems to work together with others, but humans had a unique ability to inspire cooperation and bring out the best qualities in other beings. Alex realized the implications of what Bob was telling them. The Watchers were not conquerors or invaders. They were recruiters, seeking allies, in a war that would determine the survival of everything in the galaxy. The enhanced colonists were meant to serve as ambassadors, helping to convince both humans and other alien species to join the alliance. Jake felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he was hearing. He had come to New Haven expecting to find pirates or maybe evidence of an alien attack. Instead, he had discovered that humanity was being invited to play a crucial role in defending the entire galaxy against an unimaginable enemy. Bob led them deeper into the chamber, showing them more of the alien technology the Watchers had built, processing centers where volunteers could be enhanced with new abilities and knowledge. The process was completely voluntary and reversible. Those who chose enhancement would gain access to advanced technology and the ability to communicate with other species. Lisa wanted to know why the Watchers had chosen to work in secret rather than making open contact with human governments. Bob explained that most civilizations reacted to alien contact with fear and aggression, by starting with small groups like the New Haven colonists. The Watchers could demonstrate their peaceful intentions and the benefits of cooperation, as they talked. More structures continued to emerge from the underground chamber. The constructions spread across the planet's surface, creating a network of spires and connecting bridges. Alex's instruments showed that the structures were establishing some kind of communication system, probably designed to contact other parts of the galaxy. The colonists began to move with purpose, operating alien control panels and monitoring displays. They worked together with perfect coordination, as if they shared a single consciousness. But when Jake looked closely at their faces, he could still see individual personality and awareness in their expressions. Bob noticed Jake's concern about the colonists' synchronized behavior. He explained that the enhancement process included the ability to share thoughts and coordinate actions when necessary, but each person retained their individual identity and free will. They could disconnect from the shared consciousness whenever they chose to do so. Alex made an important discovery as he studied the alien technology. The Watchers' equipment was designed to enhance and amplify existing abilities, rather than replacing them with something artificial. The colonists had not been turned into robots or slaves. Instead, their natural human qualities had been strengthened and expanded. Jake realized that he faced an enormous decision. He could try to evacuate the colonists and report the situation to human authorities, treating the Watchers as a potential threat, or he could accept that this contact represented the most important moment in human history, requiring careful consideration rather than immediate military response. The structures on the surface completed their initial construction phase. Through the chamber ceiling, Jake could see that they formed a complex pattern across the landscape. The spires pulsed with energy, sending signals into space toward unknown destinations. Bob informed them that the signals were calling other Watcher ships to New Haven. Representatives from multiple alien species would arrive soon to meet with human ambassadors. The colonists would serve as translators and guides, helping to establish communication between humans and beings that had never encountered each other before. Lisa checked her equipment again and found that communication with their ships was now possible. The signal blocking had been temporary, probably designed to prevent panic, while Jake and his team learned the truth about the situation. She could contact Admiral Sullivan and inform her about everything they had discovered. Jake knew that his next decision would affect not just the New Haven colonists, but possibly the entire future of humanity in the galaxy. The news about the Watchers spread through human space faster than Jake Morrison could have imagined. Within hours of Lisa Brooks sending her report to Admiral Kate Sullivan, every major human settlement knew about the alien contact at New Haven. Some people reacted with excitement about joining a galactic community. Others felt terrified about the unknown threats that might be coming. Admiral Sullivan arrived at New Haven within a week, bringing with her the largest fleet that humanity had assembled in decades. But instead of preparing for battle, she came to negotiate and learn. Dr. Alex Turner had convinced the military leadership that the Watchers represented an opportunity rather than a threat. During that same week, something extraordinary happened throughout human territory. Alien ships began appearing near various human colonies and space stations. But these ships did not attack or make demands. Instead, they broadcast messages of greeting and requests for peaceful meetings. The galaxy was revealing itself to humanity. The Zeth were the first alien species to make direct contact with humans outside of the Watcher arrangement. Their ships were massive and heavily armed, but they approached human settlements with their weapons powered down. The Zeth looked like giant reptiles that walked upright, with thick scales and powerful claws. Despite their frightening appearance, they spoke about honor and cooperation. Colonel Ben Hayes led the military analysis of all the new alien technologies being discovered. His teams worked around the clock to understand the capabilities and intentions of each species that made contact. The variety was overwhelming. Some aliens were similar to humans in size and shape. Others were so different that communication seemed impossible at first. The enhanced colonists from New Haven became crucial during these first contacts. Their new abilities allowed them to serve as translators between humans and aliens, who communicated in ways that normal humans could not understand. Some species used colors and light patterns to speak. Others communicated through chemical signals or magnetic fields. Bob Miller and the other enhanced colonists traveled to different human settlements, helping to establish communication with the various alien visitors. They discovered that most of these species had been hiding in remote parts of the galaxy for centuries, avoiding contact with others out of fear or cultural preference. The Watchers arranged for a massive gathering to take place in the empty space between galaxies. They constructed an enormous station in just a few days, using technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. The station was larger than any human city, with docking facilities for hundreds of different types of spacecraft. Admiral Sullivan chose Jake Morrison to lead the human delegation to the gathering. His experience at New Haven and his calm reaction to the alien contact made him the ideal representative. Lisa Brooks would serve as military advisor, while Alex Turner would handle scientific and cultural communication. When the human ships arrived at the gathering station, Jake felt amazed by what he saw. Hundreds of alien vessels surrounded the structure, each one unique in design and construction. Some ships looked like they were grown rather than built. Others appeared to be made of pure energy held in geometric shapes. A few vessels were so large that they could have housed entire cities. Inside the station, the diversity of alien life was even more overwhelming. The resonants were beings made of living crystal, who spoke by creating musical tones. The luminari appeared to be composed of pure light and energy, shifting between different colors as they moved. The collective was a species of insect-like creatures who shared a group consciousness, but maintained individual personalities. Each species that Jake met had received contact from the Watchers at some point in their history. Some had been approached recently, while others had been working with the Watchers for thousands of years. All of them knew about the threat of the Devourers, and had agreed to consider joining an alliance for mutual defense. The gathering began with presentations from the Watchers about the nature of the threat facing the galaxy. They showed images captured from beyond the galactic rim, where entire star systems had been consumed and left as empty void. The Devourers were not just destroyers of planets and civilizations. They consumed the very complexity and diversity that made life meaningful. Alex Turner studied the scientific data about the Devourers with growing horror. These entities seemed to feed on information itself, erasing the patterns and structures that allowed matter and energy to form complex systems. They represented entropy given consciousness, moving from galaxy to galaxy and leaving nothing but simplicity behind them. The Watchers explained their plan for defending against the Devourers. Each species would contribute their greatest strengths and abilities to create a unified defense network. The diversity of the galaxy would become its greatest weapon, as the Devourers had never encountered organized resistance from multiple species working together. However, not all the species at the gathering were interested in cooperation. The hegemony was a military alliance of several aggressive species, who viewed the meeting as an opportunity to seize advanced technology for themselves. They had been conquering and enslaving other species for centuries, building their power through domination rather than cooperation. The hegemony representatives demanded that the Watchers share their most advanced technologies immediately. When the Watchers refused, explaining that such knowledge required trust and cooperation to use safely, the hegemony became hostile. They accused the Watchers of favoritism toward certain species, particularly humans. Jake found himself in the middle of growing tensions between different groups at the gathering. Some species supported the Watcher plan for unity and cooperation. Others sided with the hegemony, believing that military strength was the only reliable defense against any threat. A few groups remained undecided, waiting to see which approach would prove more successful. The situation reached a crisis point when hegemony forces launched a surprise attack on the gathering station. Their goal was to capture the Watchers and force them to reveal their most advanced technologies. The hegemony believed that superior weapons and defenses could defeat the Devourers without requiring cooperation from other species. The battle that followed became humanity's first real test as a galactic species. Jake Morrison found himself commanding a desperate defense of the station, coordinating not just human forces, but ships and crews from dozens of different alien species. Each group had different fighting styles, technologies, and tactical approaches. Lisa Brooks worked frantically to establish communication protocols between the various species during the battle. The Zeth were powerful warriors who preferred direct assault tactics. The Resonants could create sonic weapons that disrupted enemy systems. The Luminari were able to phase in and out of normal space, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. What made the difference in the battle was not superior technology or numbers, but the ability of humans to coordinate and inspire the other species. Jake and his crew helped each group understand how their abilities could complement those of their allies. The Resonants provided cover for Zeth assault ships. The Luminari scouts gathered intelligence that helped human tacticians plan effective strategies. The hegemony forces had expected to face individual species fighting separately, each using only their own methods and technologies. Instead, they encountered a coordinated defense where each species contributed their strengths while others covered their weaknesses. The unified response was something the aggressive alliance had never experienced before. During the battle, Alex Turner made a crucial discovery about human psychology and its effect on other species. When humans showed confidence and determination, it seemed to inspire similar feelings in their alien allies. When human commanders remained calm under pressure, other species found it easier to control their own fear and panic. The hegemony attack was eventually repelled, but not through superior firepower. The aggressive alliance retreated when they realized that their opponents were not just defending themselves, but were actually growing stronger and more coordinated as the battle continued. The unity of the defenders had become a weapon that the hegemony could not counter. After the battle, the remaining species at the gathering looked at humans with new respect and interest. The Watchers themselves seemed pleased by how quickly humanity had adapted to their role as coordinators and inspirers. Jake realized that this was exactly what the ancient observers had been hoping to find in the human species. Following the successful defense of the gathering station, humanity earned respect from most of the galactic species present. The Watchers began sharing their technology more freely with the allied species, but along with the advanced knowledge came terrible revelations about the true scope of the threat they all faced. Dr. Alex Turner worked closely with Watcher scientists in laboratories aboard the massive station. What he learned there changed his understanding of the universe itself. The Watchers showed him images captured by long-range sensors positioned beyond the galactic rim. Entire galaxies that had once teemed with life now appeared as empty voids in space, completely devoured by the approaching entities. The Devourers were not simply destroyers of planets and civilizations. They represented something far more fundamental and terrifying. These beings fed on complexity itself, consuming the patterns and information that allowed matter and energy to organize into meaningful structures. They were entropy, given consciousness, moving systematically from galaxy to galaxy and erasing everything that made existence worthwhile. Admiral Kate Sullivan established a permanent human presence at the gathering station, working with representatives from dozens of species to coordinate the growing alliance. She faced enormous pressure from Earth's government, where many officials believed humanity was moving quickly toward an uncertain future with unknown alien partners. Some human colonies began to rebel against the new galactic involvement. The settlers on Mars declared that they would not participate in any alien alliance, preferring to defend themselves with human technology and human methods. Several outer colonies followed their example, cutting communication with Earth and the galactic gathering. Jake Morrison found himself caught between his loyalty to his own species and his growing understanding that humanity's survival depended on embracing their role in the larger galactic community. The Watchers had made it clear that no single species, regardless of their military strength or advanced technology, could survive the Devourer assault alone. The Watchers revealed more details of their plan for galactic defense. The Convergence was not just a military alliance between different species. It required a fundamental transformation of how galactic civilization operated. Each species would need to contribute their greatest abilities, while allowing others to coordinate and direct their efforts. Colonel Ben Hayes led teams of military engineers who worked with alien technicians to understand the new defensive technologies being offered. The Watchers had developed methods to turn entire star systems into weapons and shields. Planets could be transformed into massive generators that powered energy barriers, spanning light years of space, but implementing these defenses required unprecedented cooperation between species that had never worked together before. The crystalline resonance needed to harmonize their sonic technologies with the energy manipulation abilities of the Luminari. The warrior Zeth had to learn patience and precision from human tactical experts, while teaching humans the art of perfect timing in combat. Alex Turner made breakthrough discoveries about the relationship between consciousness and technology in the Watcher systems. Their most advanced devices were not simply machines, but combinations of artificial intelligence and living minds working together. The technology responded to thoughts and emotions, becoming more effective when operated by beings who truly understood cooperation and unity. As the alliance grew stronger, long-range sensors began detecting the first signs of the Devourer's approach to their galaxy. Distant star systems at the galactic rim started going dark at an accelerating rate. The enemy was still millions of light-years away, but their advanced scouts were already beginning to probe the outer edges of inhabited space. The Watchers announced that the time for preparation was ending. The galaxy-wide defensive network needed to be completed within months, not years. Every species in the Alliance would need to commit their entire civilization to the effort. There would be no reserves held back, and no second chances if they failed. Jake Morrison received promotion to Fleet Admiral, as humanity took on greater responsibilities in coordinating the multi-species defense effort. He established command centers on dozens of different worlds, each one staffed by mixed crews of humans and aliens, working together on specific aspects of the overall strategy. The biggest challenge was not technological, but psychological. Many species had evolved with instincts that made cooperation difficult or impossible under stress. The collective could work together perfectly within their own hive mind structure, but they struggled to coordinate with species that maintained individual consciousness. The Luminari found it hard to understand the concerns of physical beings who could be injured or killed. Humans proved uniquely suited to bridging these gaps between different forms of consciousness and life. Human commanders learned to communicate with hive minds by focusing on shared goals rather than individual motivations. They helped energy beings understand physical limitations by explaining concepts through metaphors and analogies. Admiral Sullivan worked with the Watchers to establish training programs where volunteers from different species could learn to work together effectively. These mixed crews would operate the most important defensive installations, requiring perfect coordination between beings who thought and communicated in completely different ways. Lisa Brooks led one of the first integrated training programs, working with Zeth warriors, resonant crystals, and Luminari energy beings to develop new tactical approaches. The results were extraordinary. Each species brought abilities that complemented the others, creating combined capabilities that no single group could achieve alone. But the training also revealed the true cost of the convergence. The galaxy's defensive network required organic components, living beings who could serve as links between the purely technological systems and the consciousness-based Watcher technologies. Volunteers would need to undergo permanent transformation, becoming part of the network itself. The Watchers explained that they had always intended to make this sacrifice themselves. Their ancient consciousness would merge with the galactic defensive grid, allowing them to coordinate resistance across thousands of star systems simultaneously. But they needed other beings to serve as living nodes in the network, maintaining creativity and adaptability while connected to the vast system. Thousands of humans volunteered for the transformation, understanding that they would become something beyond individual existence while retaining their essential humanity. Admiral Sullivan was among the first to volunteer, recognizing that military command experience would be crucial for the network's effectiveness. Alex Turner made the most disturbing discovery of all during his research into Devourer capabilities. The enemy entities did not just consume matter and energy. They absorbed information itself, learning from each galaxy they devoured and becoming more efficient at the process. The approaching Devourers had consumed hundreds of galaxies, gaining knowledge from countless civilizations. The first Devourer scout ships appeared at the galactic rim weeks earlier than projected. These advanced forces were unlike anything the Alliance had prepared to face. The scouts existed partially outside normal space-time, making them nearly impossible to target with conventional weapons. They seemed to learn and adapt to each defensive strategy within moments of encountering it. Jake Morrison led the first engagement against the Devourer scouts, commanding a mixed fleet of human and alien vessels. The battle revealed both the potential and the limitations of the new Galactic Alliance. The combined forces could damage the enemy scouts, but destroying them required tactics that defied conventional military thinking. The Devourers did not fight like any known enemy. They did not seek to capture territory or resources. Instead, they systematically analyzed and cataloged every defensive measure used against them, preparing to counter similar strategies when the main force arrived. Each battle made the enemy stronger while weakening the Alliance's tactical advantages. Lisa Brooks realized during the engagement that traditional military thinking was inadequate for this type of warfare. The Devourers were not trying to win battles in any conventional sense. They were conducting research, learning everything they could about the galaxy's defenses and capabilities before launching their main assault. The scout engagement ended when the Devourer ships simply disappeared, vanishing back into the void between galaxies. They had gathered the information they came for, leaving the Alliance to wonder what the enemy had learned and how they would use that knowledge against the main defensive network. In the aftermath of the battle, the Watchers revealed the final phase of their plan. The transformation of volunteers into network nodes would need to happen immediately. The galaxy's defenses had to be fully operational before the main Devourer force arrived, which could be at any time. Jake Morrison faced the most difficult decision of his life, knowing that accepting the transformation would mean giving up his individual existence to become part of something larger than any single consciousness could comprehend. The main Devourer force arrived at the galaxy's edge sooner than anyone had predicted. Long-range sensors detected massive distortions in space-time as reality itself seemed to bend and twist around the approaching entities. These were not ships, in any conventional sense, but manifestations of pure entropy that existed partially outside the normal universe. Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison commanded the first line of defense from his flagship positioned near the galactic rim. The transformation process had changed him and thousands of other volunteers into something new. Beings who remained fundamentally human while being connected to a vast network of consciousness that spanned the entire galaxy. The network allowed Jake to coordinate with defenders across thousands of star systems simultaneously. He could feel the presence of Admiral Kate Sullivan managing logistics and supply lines, Lisa Brooks directing tactical operations, and Dr. Alex Turner analyzing enemy behavior patterns. They were still individuals, but they shared a connection that made perfect coordination possible. The first engagement with the main Devourer force revealed the true horror of what the galaxy faced. The enemy entities did not simply destroy matter and energy. They consumed the information that gave structure and meaning to existence itself. Planets touched by Devourer influence became featureless spheres of basic elements. Stars lost their ability to maintain fusion reactions and collapsed into dark, cold masses. But the defenders had advantages that the Devourers had never encountered before. The Galactic Alliance represented something unprecedented in the enemy's experience. A unified response from multiple species working together with perfect coordination. Each species contributed their unique abilities, while humans served as the coordinators and inspirers who kept the Alliance functioning. The crystalline resonance created harmonic frequencies that disrupted Devourer energy patterns. The loop phased in and out of normal space to avoid enemy attacks while striking from unexpected angles. The Zeth warriors provided the raw courage and determination needed to face an enemy that represented the negation of everything they valued. Alex Turner, now existing as part of the network while maintaining his scientific curiosity, made a crucial discovery during the battle. The Devourers were not truly immune to destruction, but they required a specific type of attack that combined physical force with information patterns that contradicted their fundamental nature. Humans proved to have a unique resistance to the Devourer influence that consumed information and complexity. Their chaotic creativity and ability to find unexpected solutions made them partially immune to the entropy field that the enemy projected. Human consciousness seemed to generate new patterns faster than the Devourers could analyze and consume them. The battle raged across multiple star systems as the defending forces learned to work together in ways that none of them had thought possible. Species that had been enemies for centuries fought side by side. Beings with completely different forms of consciousness coordinated their actions through the human-maintained network. Jake Morrison discovered that the network gave him abilities beyond anything he had imagined. He could inspire courage in Zeth warriors facing impossible odds. He could help resonant crystals harmonize with luminary energy beings to create weapons of pure sound and light. Most importantly, he could maintain hope and determination even when facing an enemy that represented the ultimate negation of meaning. The Watchers revealed their final sacrifice as the battle reached its climax. They had been preparing for this moment for millions of years, slowly merging their consciousness with the galaxy's star systems and planetary networks. Now they completed the transformation, becoming one with the galaxy itself to coordinate the defense on a cosmic scale. But even the Watchers needed human volunteers to serve as living links in their vast network. Jake and thousands of other humans underwent the final transformation, becoming beings who existed simultaneously as individuals and as part of the galactic consciousness. They retained their creativity and free will while gaining the ability to coordinate on scales that no single mind could comprehend. The decisive moment came when Lisa Brooks realized that the Devourers had a fundamental weakness. They could consume complexity and information, but they could not understand or counter the power of hope itself. Hope was not just an emotion or a pattern of thought. It was a force that created new possibilities, even in situations that seemed completely hopeless. The Allied forces launched a coordinated assault that combined every species' greatest abilities. The attack was not designed to destroy the Devourers through superior firepower, but to overwhelm them with so much diversity and creativity that they could not analyze and counter all the different approaches simultaneously. Zeth warriors learned patience from human tacticians while teaching humans the art of perfect timing. Resonant crystals harmonized with luminary energy patterns to create effects that neither species could achieve alone. The collective's hive mind coordinated with individual consciousness to create new forms of tactical thinking. The Devourers began to retreat as they encountered something they had never faced before in hundreds of consumed galaxies. The defenders were not just fighting with weapons and technology. They were fighting with the power of unified diversity, using their differences as strengths rather than weaknesses. Jake Morrison felt the moment when the tide of battle truly turned. It was not a single victory or technological breakthrough, but a shift in the fundamental nature of the conflict. The galaxy was no longer defending against the Devourers. It was actively rejecting them, using the power of organized complexity to push entropy itself back into the void. The enemy entities could not be destroyed in any conventional sense, but they could be repelled by a force they could not comprehend or consume. The galaxy had become something new, a unified organism that fought not just with weapons, but with the essence of what made life meaningful. In the aftermath of the Great Battle, humanity found itself transformed beyond anything anyone had imagined. They remained physically human, but their role in the galaxy had evolved into something unprecedented. They had become the species that helped others transcend their limitations and achieve their greatest potential. The enhanced humans, like Jake Morrison and Admiral Sullivan, existed as bridges between individual consciousness and cosmic awareness. They could inspire cooperation between species that had never worked together before. They could maintain hope and determination in situations that seemed hopeless. Dr. Alex Turner, now part of the Galactic Network, while retaining his scientific curiosity, began studying the aftermath of the battle. The galaxy itself had been changed by the experience of unity and cooperation. New forms of technology and consciousness were emerging as different species continued to work together and learn from each other. The Watchers, now one with the stars themselves, sent a final message through the network. They revealed that the original distress signal from New Haven had been part of a plan that spanned millions of years. They had not answered humanity's call for help. Instead, humanity had answered the galaxy's call for salvation. The were not gone forever, but they had been forced back into the void between galaxies. The Unified Defense Network remained active, ready to respond if the enemy ever returned. More importantly, the galaxy had learned that diversity and cooperation were more powerful than any weapon or technology. New human ships began launching toward distant galaxies, carrying the message of the convergence to other threatened civilizations. The enhanced humans served as ambassadors and coordinators, helping other species learn to work together against common threats. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of one of these ships, looking out at the stars that now pulsed with the consciousness of the Watchers. He was still human, but he had become something more as well. He was part of a network that spanned the galaxy, a coordinator who could inspire unity between beings who had never imagined cooperation was possible. The story that had begun with a distress signal from a remote mining colony had become the foundation for a new type of civilization. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not as conquerors or superior beings, but as the species that could bring out the best qualities in others and inspire them to achieve greatness together. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity. They had become what the universe needed most, not warriors or rulers, but liberators of potential, who ensured that no species would ever face the darkness alone again.